Yeah, I had Simona Barbry on the episode now that you're about to listen to, and we talked about flirting and seduction and how that can be used in business and life in general to, let's say, charm people to do things for you. Now, when we say flirting in this context, it doesn't necessarily mean, or seduction, it doesn't mean in a sexual way or attraction way. It's an interesting topic because I think there is a lot of gray areas in this, and it differs a bit between men and women, etc. So a lot of different angles. Simona has this as her kind of a message and a mantra. She coaches people who are running companies or doing business or need help, and focuses on this to draw out the, let's say, the inner charm of each person to help them being more successful. It was for me a little bit all over the place, but then when she took examples of people that have gotten her help, then I realized that it's a very personal approach. So in some ways she's a hybrid between like a therapist, life coach, and a business coach. She also told me a little bit about her past. She spent all her teenage and youth years under communism in the Czech Republic, and told me a little bit about how that feeling was when people knew that the Iron Curtain was coming down, and how she attempted to hitchhike around the world as a 22-year-old. That ended in an interesting way. And she is the first person on my podcast that has been wanted by Interpol. A little bit about the sponsors. That's the Old Bar in Prague, in Karlín, near Krysikova metro station. Open from 8:30 to 3 o'clock every day except Fridays and Saturdays from 8:30 to 1:30. Takeaway, healthy food, amazing old meals, skyr, organic skyr from a local farm, recipe that is only available at the Old Bar. And you can also order online on Volt or Bolt. Check it out, guys. It's a great place. And then, Alfred Jobs, alfred.cz, available in Czech, Slovak, and English language. An easy tool to help you finding your next job, so you don't have to spend time looking. Alfred actually does a job for you and lets you know whenever there is a relevant job available to you. All right, that's cool. Over and out. Welcome to the bunker, Simona.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Great, thank you.
Your name is Simona Barbry.
Yes.
And that's how you pronounce it?
Barbry.
Barbry.
Mm-hmm.
I found you actually on LinkedIn. I don't know. I connected with you some while ago, and then you wrote a really interesting status on LinkedIn that got me curious, where you were talking about how people can use flirting in business.
Yes.
And that it makes business easier, makes it more fun, a lot of different things. So what are you? Are you like a flirtologist?
Oh, I wish.
Yeah.
I would love to be flirtologist. No, I'm coach and mentor and trainer.
But with focus on these kind of more charisma skills.
Actually, I'm classical business coach, but charisma is my big passion. I'm currently writing a book about charisma. I would like to implement it more in my teaching. And I think that seduction and flirting is very honest part of good business, and it's a quality of life.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to talk about it.
No, but that's what got me curious, because on my 20 years or something on LinkedIn, or 15 years or something, this is a very rare thing to see anyone communicate about, because on LinkedIn I have a feeling that everyone is trying to be very serious and look their best. And then something like this definitely stands out a little bit.
Actually, a few days ago, Simon Sinek posted that cells is like dating.
Mm-hmm.
So the synchronicity between.
Yeah. But you're from here. You're from the Czech Republic,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And before we kind of get into, I want to talk to you about this whole flirting and the coaching and how this actually works and what are the lines between flirting and being sleazy and how you can use it to your advantage and all these things. But yeah, before we get there, tell me a little bit about yourself. So you're born here during communism?
Yes, in Marienbad. It's a beautiful city at the German border.
Mm-hmm. So your family is part German or?
We are Czechs, but as many Czech families, we had part of family who lived in Austria. In my case, in Vienna, they spoke German. A line of the family. But we are Czechs.
Okay, and how? I'm just curious because I know we are around the same age, and I've always been since I moved here to the Czech Republic 12 years ago. I've always been very curious about the experiences of people like yourself that you lived most of your all your childhood, teenage years under communism.
Yes.
How was it? Did you feel that your freedom was limited? Do you know what I mean? Did you?
Absolutely, I did.
Yeah.
I absolutely did. And if the Velvet Revolution wouldn't come, then I would emigrate for sure.
Yeah.
I was planning it since my childhood. So.
And why? I mean, did you? I don't know. Did you feel it in your everyday life that you couldn't do everything you wanted to do?
I think I pink painted a little bit the Western world in my imagination.
Mm-hmm.
But the main reason was lack of freedom to travel, to explore, to have good manners. I mean, even the flirting, dressing well, having well-mannered men. And as a child, I was absolutely hooked to a series for kids called Daktari. I don't know if you know it. It was in Africa. And European people living or having some project in Africa, and they had a lion, Clarence, and a little monkey, Judy, and that was all my world. I wanted to go to Africa and take care of animals and travel around the world. That was always the main topic in my desire.
When we see, and it's still like that. If we look at let's say TV shows or movies that cover this period in time, the Cold War period, we always see the Eastern Bloc as very gray and kind of without any personality somehow. Was it like that? I mean,
for the outside world, it was. On the other hand, I think we really had deep cultural life. We really read a lot. We had quite deep discussions. I don't think kids those days go so deep, We had nothing to do, so we read books and we discussed. And I think also we drank a lot and we sexed a lot.
Yeah. So there was alcohol and sex was allowed.
It was the only thing you had. So
yeah, and no religion, so no pressure to be monogamous or anything like that.
I think monogamy is more cultural issue. I think and
issue
or topic.
Yeah,
it's very discussable. And
but how because like you hear these stories that somebody smuggled a tape with the Beatles or something, and then they were copying it and giving it to their friends and listening in the basement to Western music.
Yes,
it was like this.
Absolutely, yeah, it was great. I had a little bit more access because living in Marienbad, we caught the German television. So for the pop music, for the pop charts, we could listen every day, and radio, Bayern 3, Antenne Bayern, and so on. That was
And that was allowed. I mean, there was no attempt to stop that.
At that time, I don't actually. Yes, of course, we listened to Voice of America and Radio Free Europe. That was prohibited for sure. But how do you want to stop the radio waves? I mean,
I
you know, it was everywhere. So,
but they told me that there is this. We have this tower here, the Siskov Tower, that is a very ugly building.
Yeah.
But very tall. Somebody told me that, and that was the last public building, I think, that was built by the communists or like a big infrastructure building. And then somebody told me that the purpose of that building was more to block signals than to send them.
Oh, that's possible. You know, I came to Prague when I was 21. So.
Yeah. But what about like standing in line for food and not having stuff?
I don't.
You don't have this experience.
Well, you get used to it. It's not a drama. You know, it's not really a drama. I more remember those times when we could listen to underground music, and this was really, you know, like you really discover something. It has very strong feeling for you. The Czech culture has also very specific sense of humor, which I'm missing now because everything was double meant. You know, everything had double meaning, and it was so funny. It was so full of life, so encouraging in some way. You know.
But was the city like here when you came to Prague? I mean, because Prague is in my mind, and I've traveled a lot of different cities around the world. I mean, it's probably the most beautiful city in the world. Was it like that? Or is that after communism that people started renovating and so on? Or
it was grey.
Yeah.
It was grey in the 80s. But it was not so overcrowded by tourists. And it had really the Kafka spirit. You know, it was spooky. It was really... And romantic, on the other hand.
Yeah.
We really got lost in the little streets in the Old Town Square, or Old Town.
Yeah.
And you had a lot of cheap pubs there, you know. Dating was like really... You know, in Czech, when you say you date someone, we say we walk. We walk together. So we didn't have place to go, so we walked and talked. And it was miles and miles, you know, walking around the beautiful little streets, and a lot of galleries and cafes, and it had its magic.
It turned people inwards more because you kind of had to get company of other people and so on. I mean, you couldn't be watching MTV all the time.
No.
But at the same time, everything was planned, I guess. I mean, like, people would get a job, and then they would get an apartment, they would get a car. There was a plan for everyone, right? Somehow, or...
I would say two kind of people. Those who plan everything. Those highly probably also entered the Communistic Party, because then you could be more in charge of your future life. Or in contrary, you just don't plan anything. You know, you just are kind of nihilist. When the revolution happened, I was just, you know, just entering the adultery. So for me, I saw a lot of nihilism, you know, really young, talented people really drinking a lot, you know, just out of...
end of days feeling somehow. Nobody cared. And you just do whatever.
Yeah.
No responsibility.
There was a responsibility, but I don't know why there was so much alcohol. It was kind of like intellectual behavior.
Yeah. But you told me that your father, example, he didn't want to join the Communist Party, and he had a very creative way of avoiding that.
Yes. So far, I know he wasn't an excellent student in his student life, but then he started to avoid entering the Communistic Party, and also, I don't know, some kind of communistic school. They called it WUML. I don't even know what it means. He couldn't find a job in Prague. My father is from Prague. I had grandmother here in Prague. After his studies, they fired him, and he went to Marienbad, where he met my mom. And Marienbad collected those thrown away doctors, and they hid them in the little villages around. So
he was a doctor.
He was a medicine doctor. Yep. And then he started to collect his specializations. his attestations.
Yeah.
So he was surgeon, urologist, balneologist. He studied tropical diseases. And he was active in sport medicine because he was very active in bobsleigh. He even was doctor for the Olympic equipe.
Yeah.
For the Olympic team. Yeah.
And all these studies, he kind of kept himself busy in school so that he wouldn't have to join the.
Yeah. He worked and he studied distantly. All my childhood actually, and then he started when they said, "Listen, you are provoking." Then he started to study languages. So,
So he basically, to avoid the Communist Party, he was in school forever.
Yeah, we can say so. Yeah. But then in the 80s, they actually, when the situation started to be a little bit more open during the perestroika, they sent him to Iraq, and he loved it. And then we had to join and follow him. So if everything would go according to the plan, my sister would start her high school in not in Iraq, because then he had to return from Iraq and we had to go to Kuwait, I think. So I would go for my 3rd grade and my sister to the 1st grade of high school, actually in diplomatic schools. But unfortunately, he died very suddenly. Yeah.
And during this time, because you're saying that things were getting more open during the perestroika period, did you feel that? I mean, and how was that feeling when you kind of knew that this period of communism and let's say this surveillance society was going to end? Was it exciting?
My parents, they constantly spoke about freedom at home, so they could emigrate in 1968. I'm born in this year, but then it was complicated. So they could, but they didn't. My father could have excellent job in Germany, but it was like red line topic during all my childhood, discussing the chance of living in Western Europe or in some free part of the world and having really the career and having really the opportunity to develop and discover and explore. So for me, this is the basic essence of existence. And I don't think I really sensed that the better times are coming because I didn't really believe it. But it's true that we sense it somehow, and it was very, very cheerful and very full of hope. And I think it created my vision for the future.
And where were you when the Velvet Revolution happened here? That's 1989.
I was there. I was in Národní třída. Yes, I was there.
Okay.
Because I just had the right age. So after my education, I started to work in Prague. I started in Hotel Ambassador as a manager. And the very first day, I met 2 people who influenced my life. One was a hotel guest, an older guy, who said that he is writing a book about the end of communistic era. And I didn't believe him. And I started to argue with him. And I thought he's just old, foolish guy. But he had something, some kind of charm. And it was obvious that he is highly probably coming from West. I didn't ask him, he spoke Czech, but his Czech was like the old school Czech, And so we started discussion, and I said, no, well, I don't think so. And he said, okay, well, tell me about it. And so I gave him my point, and he was so humble. He didn't argue with me, and I told he's stupid writing something he doesn't understand. So we became friends, and then I started to take him out with my young friends, and I was really torturing him with taking him to the most horrible student pubs in Prague, really smoky, really dirty. And then he left in between. The Velvet Revolution happened, and then he came and he said, so what do you think now? And I said, wow, I would never believe it. And he offered me...
So he believed it would end and you didn't believe it would end?
I didn't. And what came later out is that he was professor of political science, and that he really truly writes the book, and that he actually saw the historical circumstances which were unstoppable at the time. And actually he wanted to include my ideas in his book, which the working title was Full Circle. And the idea was that he is born in freedom in democratic Czechoslovakia at the time. And at the edging the adultery, he has to leave the country. And he's coming back as persona grata, as someone who really did it in his life. And he's meeting girl who is born during the communistic era at the edge of adultery and at the edge of the freedom. So the dialogue was, it had the dynamic, of me being completely stupid, but naive and actually very ingenue. And fresh and open-minded and really cheerful and so on. And I think he liked this.
And you had a longer story with this man. I mean, you went to...
Yes.
You ended up leaving soon after Velvet, right?
Immediately. He came back and he said, so what do you think about it? And I said, wow, I would never expect it. And then he said, would you like to work for me? And I said, of course. So he took me to Vienna and he connected me with all the people who meant something at the time. So it was really a very happy time.
And you're like 20,
I was
21,
23, 22, yeah.
And at that time, I mean, you leave immediately as soon as you can. Did a lot of your friends do the same? Did a lot of people leave?
Well, actually, there was some time we legally shouldn't leave, but nobody took care.
So it's kind of like the COVID restrictions here now. Nobody cares. They are there, but no one cares.
And if there was some trouble, then Professor... I should say the names. It was Professor Rajsky de Dubnic. He was a noble guy, and his family was like the old Czech family before battle at Bílá hora, which means something.
So this is old Czech royalty.
Old Czech royalty before the German noble family took over. The real Czech ones.
And how? So you were in Vienna for a long time, or how was that?
I was there a year, working as his assistant, and
you could have stayed longer, right?
I could be there forever because we really had such a match, He had old chalet in Steiermark in Austria. Schalchube, it's a little village which actually belongs to private region of Karel Schwarzenberg. So you cannot really enter this or at that time, I don't know now, you couldn't enter it just for holiday. We had to have a special permission to go there, and even there was a private train which had different rails, like tiny rails. And we spent quite some time in the chalet, or we were in Vienna in the very city, beautiful in beautiful city of Vienna. It was really lovely, and we had so much to talk about.
So you go from working in a hotel in Prague to be a princess in Austria?
Yes.
In a castle?
No. The castle he inherited later here in Czech. So the castle is in Czech. But when he returned to the castle, it was just boring for me, and I didn't want to continue. I was so hungry to travel and to meet people and cultures and learn new languages. And also the Vienna experience, it was too slow for me. He was, he was 2 generations older. Everybody we met was like, could be my grandpa. And once you have all the luxury and all the cafe all the drinks and food in Sacher Cafe, where the royalty or the noble people come, then you just have enough. And at the same moment in Prague, there was a legendary music club called Bunker. And I wasn't here, and everybody was there, and you had all the alternative music and all the youngsters and the backpackers from United States came over, and people from all the world were in Prague, and I was with old people in Vienna, so I was kind of frustrated.
So you left?
So I left, and I had a plan. I wanted to be the first lady who hitchhikes around the world. So I said goodbye to Professor Reisky, and I went to my big trip. And I had 100 German marks in my pocket. That was all for me.
And where did you go? What was the first?
That's a story. Yeah, that's really funny because it would make a little paperback book. I was so lucky, The first guy who took me to Germany, from Czech to Germany. How was I? I returned from Vienna. I returned to home because with my luggage. I repacked my luggage, and my starting point was Marienbad, where I'm from. And from Czech to Germany, some guy took me who traveled for work. And then the next car was a Dutch car. And the guy says, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I go around the world." And he said, "You're kidding." And I said, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Where have you been?" And I said, "I just started." And he said, "Have you been in Holland?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Okay, so can I show you Holland?" I said, "Okay, let's start with Holland." And he was so friendly. It was really amazing. And he had like 6 weeks of holiday, and he showed me entire Holland. So I think one of the best traveled countries I have was Holland, including the Fries Islands up there, And he came from, what was the name of the city? Kok aan Zaan, I think. It was very near to Amsterdam, but it's such a beautiful UNESCO-protected city. It was like fairy tale. So we traveled with a bicycle every day to Amsterdam, and then by car the longer distances. And the family welcomed me like I was like lost daughter, He said, "Yeah, that's Simona. She's from Czech Republic, and she's traveling around the world." And it was such a joyful time because we really had so much support from other people, Like if you said like I was girl, I was very young, I was from Czech Republic, then 2 names everybody named, and it was Václav Havel and Polina Pořízková, which was like our super duper top model. So I had really, and then everybody wanted to help, So everybody, "Do you have place to sleep?" "No." "Okay, you can go." And I was so naive, and nobody really took advantage. Never, ever, I swear, So people provided me with food, with place to stay all the time. They invited me for little trips, and so.
And did you manage to hitchhike around the whole world?
No. The that's the thing. I didn't have really plan or strong vision. So I traveled all around Holland, and then I had such a calling to see Bruges in Belgium, beautiful city, because I got postcards from some people who stayed in my apartment in Prague during my stay in Vienna. So I was dating someone here in Prague. He stayed in my apartment, and he offered my apartment to some people from Belgium. I never met them, but they kept sending those postcards, like thanking, because we didn't ask any money, not necessarily, and inviting us to Bruges. And I was absolutely charmed by the beauty of the city. And then I found out that there is this very famous triptych from Hieronymus Bosch. And I really had access to art. I had my permanent card in Vienna to Kunsthistorisches Museum, and I had all the books and so on. So I was absolutely drawn, to go there. So I wanted to go to Bruges from Holland, but I hitchhiked to Luxembourg first. And I was in the most horrible hostel I ever experienced, where you sleep on this double bed, and above bunker bed, and above me some people had sex, and the bed was shaking all night. I was so lucky till now, and now I experienced this is the real world if you hitchhike on your own. So I just try to get out, as much as possible. And I met some group of guys, and he said, "Hey, where is some rock and roll bar?" And I said, "I don't know, but I'm searching some." And they said, "Would you like to join us?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And those guys were pilots from Canada, and they had this rolling, they flew to Amsterdam, and then they had like 1 week of rolling. So I stayed with them. And they said, "We don't like it here. Let's go to Belgium." So I went to Belgium with them, but still not to Bruges. And so I had beautiful 1 week traveling after Second World War sightseeings, because one of them had been absolutely fun of the history. And then I took, a car to Bruges. And the guy said, "Where do you want to go?" And I said, "To a square." And he said, "Which one?" I said, "The most beautiful one." And he said, "Most beautiful, or where the young kids are hanging?" And I said, "Young kids." So he took me to pick up place. I didn't know, like, if you want to pick up somebody, you go to this place, which I had no idea. But I was absolutely charmed how friendly the people are and how much attention I get. And I met my husband there. And I married the first Belgian guy I ever met. I married him. So
you basically you after 5 minutes in Belgium
I said, "Yes, I'm staying forever." And I called my mom, and my mom says, "You are not case." And I said, "I know." And then I met my husband on Thursday, and on Friday he took me to Paris, and on Monday I called home that I'm staying in Belgium for good, and I did.
So it was a pickup square.
Yes.
And then I know that you lived in Belgium for a long time.
Yes,
right?
10 years.
But it ended. I mean, you're actually the first person on my podcast that has been wanted by Interpol.
Yes, that's true.
And what happened? How did that happen? You're happy in Belgium.
Yes. Happy. Okay, I was happy in Belgium, but I wasn't happy in the marriage. And I wanted to escape, but then things started to be complicated because Czech Republic wasn't part of European Union. I was waiting for my papers. I couldn't really work. I hate to depend on someone, I just wanted to work and learn languages. And I was a young mom, it's so hard to deliver baby in country which speaks such a strange language, and it's cold and it's raining, and they don't use heating in the bedroom. So I was charmed at the beginning, and then I started to be a little bit disappointed during my stay. And I decided to leave the country despite that I was prohibited to leave the country. So I became to be kidnapper.
You took your son?
I took my son, yes. I should not leave the country with my son, and I did. I just went home, I think it was the most natural thing a girl would do.
Yeah,
Was a young mom.
And nobody would leave their kid behind, No, you could have gone, you could not go alone.
No. No, I should not. I was prohibited.
But what I mean is that no mother would leave their kid behind. Like every mother has an instinct of. And this became a problem, obviously.
Yeah, and then the war started. So I don't want to give too much details. Then my husband came, and he really took my son really away, like physically, and I didn't get any support by police or at the embassy. And then happened that I had double nationality. I even didn't apply for Belgian passport, but the Czechoslovakia in between split into Czech and Slovak, and it was such a chaos and such a mess that coincidentally I got passport, which I'm happy now. But then, and we married in Belgium. So I was treated like a Belgium citizen, and I didn't get any support here in Czech Republic to help me or to
in this fight.
This fight. Nobody was interested, and the Belgian part really was quite active. And and my husband's mother, she was, let's say, well financially positioned. So she gave all the guarantees, and then this ugly fight started. So my husband actually took my son, left to Brazil, and I was prohibited to see him without some
surveillance.
Social, and I couldn't enter like 10 meters of them. It was really drama. And anyway, but I decided, who are you to tell me what I have to do? I have the best intentions. Jesus Christ, I will be great mom, and I just never give up. So when it started to be really dramatic, and I was how do you say? I became kidnapper, and the Interpol was after me, and I had this record. I decided just to continue with life, like there was no decision, and I studied, and I had a lot of jobs, and
you had to move on somehow.
I had to move on, and what I want to, I never spoke about it. I hope my husband will not listen to this podcast. I got offer a friend of mine, and he said, "Listen, kid, I can't see how you suffer, and this is not fair. So I can help you to escape to Belize. I have connections, but it means that you have to stay there until Nikki's name of my son, till he's 18, or something just happens to your husband."
To go there with Nikki with you?
Yeah. And that he will
stay,
to stay there, and then he offered me protection. Or to harm my husband. And I was 20. When Nikki was born, I was not 25 yet. And when we discussed this, I was like, I don't know, 27, 28. And I decided not to do that, because, this was not fight about me. It was about the future and good life of my son. And Belgium is a beautiful country with good education system and actually very friendly.
And his father is kind to him. You didn't have a problem with.
Of course I did. And it didn't work out. But what I want to say is that I accepted. No, moment. It was when Nicky he had to go to first grade. In between, I was constantly seeing him. And in between, I try also to do career in Czech Republic. So I was traveling between those countries. And I am very persistent. And this persistency, my husband couldn't beat it. So at the end, he always allowed me to see him. At the end, but I was risking all the time that he could just call police and they would really get me. And when Nikki had to go to first grade, I got this offer, and I was thinking it over. And then I came to this friend of mine, and I said, "Listen, I really appreciate that you would do such a horrible thing for me, but I am choosing Nikki to have good life here in Belgium." And I contacted my ex-man, and I said, and we wasn't divorced because he didn't want to divorce. And it was like endless, it was like, if one partner at the time didn't want to divorce, we were undivorceable. So I couldn't move. I couldn't really have my own life. And so I contacted him, and I said, "Listen, the winner takes it all. I will pay everything," because I also signed a marital contract where I refused to have whatever. So
you had a bad contract.
I had a bad contract, but he was, I was in love, and I had nothing and he had, so I thought it's fair. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's his, so just take it, And so I said, the winner takes it all, and I just wish you to be happy and to really find a good girl who will be happy with you, and I hope that Nikki will be happy also. And you know what? He started to cry and he said, I didn't want it this way. And I said, I know, because then it started to be like, it was a little bit political, how do you say, politically involved, which is another story. Maybe I didn't even tell you. Yeah. So, because I worked coincidentally, I started to work for a political party. So I really had strong connections because this party won elections. So I was really close to the
power,
the power, the premier minister, and so on. Anyway, so I said the winner takes it all, and my husband said that's the end of fight, and that was the end of fight. So we divorced. Then he let me see my son. I was very afraid that he will lose connection with the Czech culture and Czech language. And then my husband left to Brazil, where he stayed like 2 years. Nikki started to go to school in Brazil. And that was something I was frightened all the time. And he was telling me, but nobody listened to me. Nobody believed me. But then they were in trouble. And my mother-in-law contacted me. And she said, Simona, Christian, and Nikki need you. I will take care of the finances and you take care of like cheering them up. But in between, I had another son. I had a little baby, and I put all money I had on the flight ticket to Brazil to visit them. It was one of the most beautiful holiday I ever had. But Jesus, I was so money short, So I had like a half board stay in a nice hotel. But I shared my half board with a teenage guy who was really hungry all the time. and Nikki said, no, Mom, you do it completely wrong. And during these 2 years, he became real Brazilian. So he talk like Brazilian, he walk like Brazilian, he act like Brazilian, and he did wear shoes, he did Jenga football, capoeira, and so on. And then he was negotiating with everybody everywhere. So we really could have shrimps from the fishers, and they made it in the restaurant. And he always said, Mom, just don't talk. And then he said, yeah, we are from, what is the city down Sao Paulo, because you have a lot of like German or Dutch people. So yeah, we are from Sao Paulo. We are here for holiday, and yeah, my mom, I deal for my mom. She's a little bit like bizarre or something. And and one story I would love to share. And then it was the end of my stay, and I had charter flight, and this charter had 6 hours or 12 hours had to leave ahead, not later, but ahead. And I wasn't prepared for that. So I had to quickly pack my stuff and go to the airport. And I couldn't reach my ex-husband to tell him that I'm leaving to take over Nikki. And it was no cell phones at that time. And I was standing in the airport and hugging my son, who was 14 at the time. And I was saying, Nikki, I absolutely don't know what is the right reaction. I absolutely don't know, because if I don't leave now, I don't have anybody who could pay the flight ticket for me. And I have a little baby at home. And he said, no, Mom, go home because Alex needs you more. And then I had some in my bra. I had some dollars for case that I will be caught by police, so that I can call.
Bribe them,
yeah. Because I was still 1 foot in prison, and I didn't want to die in the prison in Brazil. So so I gave him this money, and I said, listen, take a cab, go home, wait for your dad, and promise me this. And he said, yeah, okay. And then I was in the airplane already, and then they called my name like Mrs. Barbry, and I was pretending that I sleep, but they came to me and they woke me up. And there was a guy who said, "You have a greeting from Mr. Nicholas," which was my son. And Nicky bought for all the money he spent on cashew nuts, which I wanted to buy to go home. And he spent it all. And he hitchhiked, over entire Fortaleza, which is a very, very dangerous city.
So he bought you some snacks?
Yes. And then he hitchhiked home. And I was so, it was so emotional. And I was thinking, I envy the girl who will date him one day because that's such a act of romance, know. So and what I have to say that I actually have a good relationship with my ex-husband. We are seeing each other. I regularly go to Belgium and he goes to Czech Republic. My son speaks fluently Czech. And I would never believe this could have happened.
No, but that's great. And you're not wanted anymore by the police. The police is not.
No, it would be only if somebody would report me. And
okay, guys, no, we're not going to report Simona. No. To the millions, of listeners out there.
No. Now it's over. It's
the case is closed.
The case is closed because Nikki is 18. The case is over. Now I can talk about it. But so in some way, like you are. You've been a wild one in a way. I mean, you act on impulse or No, I would say I'll go for justice and for passion, but I wouldn't really call myself really wild. I would say
but I mean,
naive.
hitchhiking around the world when you're 21 to get that idea. I mean, that's not a normal idea. And to meet a guy, go to Paris, call home and say, I'm never coming home again. You know what I mean? To jump on a plane to Brazil, not to have money, not to be sure if you have money enough to get home if something goes wrong. This is not like where does this come from, Simona?
Adventure, and then it was the right thing to do. I had the right, I dreamt about travel all my life. All the stories of my family is we couldn't do work we are good in. We couldn't travel. We have some gene of traveling, and being curious in other cultures and so on. So I felt really appealed for all the generations and the ancestors in my family to do this trip, like I owe it to the family, to them. I owe it to them, and I have to explore and I have to do something big.
So you were not there only on your own behalf, you were there on behalf of the suffering of the ones that came before you.
Yes.
But you said fear, because, I mean, no, you said I did it because it was the right thing to do, but you were never afraid.
No, actually, no. No, I was excited.
But that's I'm actually this was actually a little bit more about the background than I thought it would be. But
sorry.
No, it's great. But because I'm now I actually understand why you are not a traditional business coach in a way. I mean, I know that you do traditional business coaching, but you mix it with elements that I wouldn't say are. I would say it's elements that are more adventurous. So when you get here to Prague somehow, and you get into this coaching. I would kind of like to understand that. I mean, how did that start? I mean, how come that you chose this field?
How did it start? I was so lucky to get a job by Nike European Operations when they had office in Prague, and my position was a trainer. And I was absolutely called. I was made for this, I loved it. And I absolutely loved the company culture at Nike. Like, just do it. You can do it if you want. That's my mantra, You can, if you want, you can do it. You can do whatever. I mean...
You can hitchhike around the world if you want.
You can do... I mean, there is no limit, really, truly. Like, physically and... psychologically, there is no limit. If you are convinced about something, if you go for it, there is no limit. I think I'm so amazed being human being. It's so I don't really
So a lot of people don't like this kind of attitude, though. You know that.
I don't meet them. I don't know. Yeah, of course, but that's not my clientele. Actually.
But so you're in Nike. That's kind of where you get into the, let's say, the field. You're being a trainer there, and
then I turned 40. At that time, nobody over 40 worked in Nike. I didn't look that age, but I was that age. And the first crisis, 2008, came. And the father of my second child left me. And so I went to be a freelancer, a coach freelancer. It was just temporary before I found some decent job, because I had managerial jobs before. No, and then I found that that's okay how it is, and I really did it. But I was desperate. I was highly motivated. I had hypothec. I have a house, so yeah.
You had to pay the bills.
Everything.
Yeah.
and that's of my father of the second child.
Yeah. Yes. So you're paying for someone else's house also. And what kind of, I mean, okay, so what is a business coach? I mean, what would you, if you would describe it in some simple way, what does a business coach do?
You should see the hidden talents and unmet qualities of your client, and you should encourage him and dig it out together with him. Actually, I believe that coach is something like midwife, you know. The pushing, the pain, the delivery, it's up to the client, but I can guide you during this process and help you.
Breathe deep.
Yeah.
Breathe out.
Be positive. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Keep pushing.
But but it's people who go for coaching. What are they seeking? I mean, they want to improve themselves, or they want to improve the results of their company, or what's the motivation?
Both. I started as a trainer. In between, I actually work for a very prestige global company called Crowdhammer, and I really love the know-how I got there. So I was a trainer. I trained groups, mainly managers. I led the leadership academy and management academy. So if you have the group of managers, you are a guide through management techniques. But what I like about our approach is that actually it's not so much about techniques, it's about attitude. So actually you help to shift their attitude. If you have techniques without attitude, you could be a monkey and you just do the techniques, but you are not authentic. So what I love about it is the authenticity, to really awaken the authenticity and passion and desire and qualities. And for that you need to have it in yourself, I believe. So, and then in the coaching, it's interesting because I have some gift, so people open to me. Maybe because I'm a little bit crazy, because I'm a little bit different. So very often it's not only about the business, although I am primarily business coach, but it's about life values, desires, relationships. Yeah.
I have a friend of mine was starting attending some coaching sessions. It was interesting because she told me that like the first base level was to find out what is it that gives her pleasure, what is it that just gives her less pleasure, and it kind of laying down those kind of fundamentals, and then the values. And that was what she told me. She had a really hard time understanding, and I said, well, no, you're honest and you're kind, and I didn't know that, and I think is that is that how it is when you meet some new customer or client that you're going to be working with, is it hard for them to actually reflect on themselves, how they are and so on?
I would say no, because people who want, if company is pushing you for coaching, then probably you have hard times. But if you initiate it
Yourself,
you already have kind of self-reflection and you aim for something.
So you already know some of it, or you're onto it somehow if you're initiating it yourself.
They tell me, but you can, by observing Jesus Christ, if you do it long time, you can just observe. So it's body language, it's the vocabulary the people use. These are certain programs which are quite obvious, the way we want to be seen, the way we avoid certain topics. That this is leading you to somewhere with the client.
So you are more about the attitude than than let's say system. Or
I am very, very bad in system
in
general, in everything. But if you know what you want, if you really have aim, if you know where you are aiming, then it's pretty easy to be clear about the rules. It's very clear then to say no, and to whom I say no, because with every no, you say yes to something or someone else. It's about value. It's about priorities.
But if I would take a coaching session with you, I mean, you would not sit down with a big Excel file with me and map out things. It would more be a talk.
Yes. Or now I do biodynamic body psychotherapy. Then I could even touch you if you would allow me.
And what kind of, because I know that you have a lot of like high level management clients and what's a typical person who comes to you? Are they young, old, what level? Where are they in their career?
It's a good question, because I'm facing also that I'm aging, because I have a few clients where I coach father and son. so I have like people of my age or a little bit older, and then I have the real youngsters. And I would say that the really successful people, entrepreneurs and managers,
are the ones that come to you.
They come to me, and you know what is the real issue with them? They don't like themselves. So actually we are building
so you're like a therapist somehow.
Yes. Yeah. That's why I study it. Very often they are so goal-oriented, so hard-working, because they are fighting against emptiness.
Yeah, they're trying to fill the black hole.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, some people do that with alcohol or drugs or food.
Or you can do it with work.
Yeah, exactly.
Or pleasing. You can, pleasing everybody.
Yeah. So I wanted to get to understand a little bit. So the mantra is, you said just do it, but I know you work very much with those, let's say, characteristic skills or charisma and flirting and so on. And you told me when we were talking earlier that you feel people are being too serious today, and that we're missing a little bit the fun. So that's part of what you kind of preach in your coaching, or what?
Yes, if the client agrees on that. I believe that charisma is a side product or side effect of being honest with yourself, being humble, being playful. If I should say the definition of charisma, for me, it means to be kind, competent, and socially independent. If you are socially independent, you just don't care, you just have your way and you So you practice the courage to go your way and not to be mainstream. And then you have bigger chance to feel fulfilled life. Because also chasing happiness, it's a nonsense, you know. Happiness, what is it, you know? That's actually, you are from the north, so Scandinavian countries, they have such a high scope of let's say life happinesses because you have happiness and contentment, and the expectations are not exaggerated, and because socially people support each other, and because there is a huge respect for individuality, but also respect for talents of kids, you know. I absolutely understand, because of living also in Belgium, I understand that if in Czech it's like this: you are 14, and still it's amazing. You are 14 and you have to decide what you will do for the rest of your life. And if you choose something else later, it's like failure.
Yeah.
And the same with partner.
Yeah, if you're not married by 25 with a kid, then you're a failure.
Yeah, and if you don't date the right person immediately, you are a failure. This is impossible. So I think that's not one attempt. We have all a life to find it. You know.
So that's the courage part. I mean, that's
courage.
To have the guts to go out there and make mistakes.
Yes, and to be honest to yourself also. You know, to be honest to your loved ones and to yourself. It's a big deal.
But that's you know. And when we kind of going back to, because when I was telling you that, you know, I'm interested in your story because you spent so much part of your life under communism. I see here, you know, having been here in the Czech Republic for 12 years, I lived in Copenhagen before and then in Iceland, and I have been involved in business since I was 23. And it was really interesting when I came here that I got the feeling that I was some sort of a god in the company that I came into, because all the power in the company rested in my personality somehow. And people were asking me to make decisions about things that I didn't know anything about. And, you know, what kind of cars should we lease? And I said, I don't know. I don't even have a car, you know. Whereas in Scandinavia, I felt there was more distribution of power somehow. And this pyramidic, or how to say, this hierarchy structure made somehow the company soulless.
Yes.
It was not supposed to be fun. I could not put my legs on the table. I've been having my legs on the table for my whole career, but when I came here and I did it, it wasn't appropriate.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, because how can you, first of all, you come from this background, you should be different than you are.
Yeah.
that's the no, I mean, but I'm very happy you're not, because then you wouldn't be on this podcast. But maybe I should have an episode with someone who hasn't changed at all for the last 30 years. But secondly, how can you convince this business community? And you said you have father and son. Maybe the father is your age and the son is much younger. How can you go to those people and tell them, okay, we're gonna use flirting?
Oh, you mean this one? I don't say them to use flirting. I tell them to flirt with life. You know, it's different. It's mindset. I think really that life is too short to be narrow-minded, to be hostile to other people, to really insist on rules which are hurting other people. So flirt, as I understand it, is a certain quality that you see the good vibes and quality in other people they are not even aware of. You know, that you make them aware of their own likability, which is actually increasing their self-esteem, and you can help them to be more sure in their attitude. So that's something totally playful for me. You know, because you can flirt with everything and everybody. You can flirt with kids. You can flirt with... I have my dear friend Monica, and she has a little kitten called Pecky. I am absolutely sure that Pecky loves me and I love him. You can have so much, love and flirt with a kitten or your doggy. And you can have it with child, and you can have it with charming old lady or old guy. It's like seeing the quality in them. And if you have this talent, then you should have the talent also in business, because business is about people. It's about connection. It's about trust, agreement, values. Should be.
But we when we say the word flirting or flirt, then I think a lot of people would kind of associate that with I don't know, finding a partner or I don't know, trying to get a date or I don't know, trying to get sex or whatever. And you use those words, seduction and flirt. I think you are talking about them in a different way, right?
Yes.
I mean, they have a different meaning in this sense.
I think that we very often use words without really knowing their history or the content of the word, because seduction... what is seduction? Seduction, to seduce someone, means that you make him come to you with desire. And you achieve it through giving him something, not exposing yourself. I mean, you can be cheap and really expose yourself, but that's not really seduction. To have one drink in a bar and go to bed with someone, it's not seduction. Seduction, as I understand, is turn the no interest into burning desire in you. And that's very good to know how to do it without manipulating. So it may have sexual or erotic
consequences,
but must not, So if in my opinion, business sells, it's a lot about seduction. You seduce your client to want your product. That's actually that's what I do with my clients. I want them to want me. And I have to give something valuable.
It's interesting because I remember I was a customer of a shipping company, one airline and one sailing, like a boat, containers, and the person who took care of me at the container company, I wanted to buy from her. She could have sold me water in a swimming pool or sand in the Sahara, because she was a nice person, and she was, we had conversations about everything else than business and work. And then at the end of the call, she said, "Oh, by the way, I'm raising my price of 5%. And I just said, "Yeah, no problem. I'm very happy." But at the airline, they had people that had limited people skills, and I tortured them. I used all my power to get better things from them and to be unfair in my claims to them and things like that.
That's exactly what happens if you have no relationship with those people, and that's the kind of business I don't want to be involved with, because it's short-term business. You end up squeezed like a lemon, unhappy. You cannot do it forever like this.
And you can have all the systems and all the structures in place, but if the personality isn't there, then
it's nothing. It's nothing.
So Simona, you were saying that by using flirting in the sense that we're talking about, then it's a way of getting people to want to be around you, to want to do business with you, to want to follow your guidance, follow your management. We are basically establishing, or you're talking about establishing yourself in a group of people who then have some sort of a desire of either getting something from you, doing something for you.
Yes, you can say it like this.
So, but the word flirt, it's it can be used in many ways, and isn't it super easy to misinterpret it, to misunderstand it.
It is unfortunately super easy. But I think, first of all, I don't really work with shallow people, so I always take enough time to explain what I mean. And what I want to say is that flirt is kind of awakening, actually. We have to revive our way of perception, because in flirt and seduction, it's something strongly archetypal, like it's an archetype. You cannot not to flirt. This would be very unnatural. You have flirting archetypes which are deeply in us, men and women, and it's like forbid Superman to rescue people. So first of all, I think it's something very natural. Secondly, it's very playful, and you have to cultivate it. It's because erotic sex is power, and it's overused in commercials. But if you use it wisely in not erotic way, it's something very valuable, and it's really quality driven. I mean, it's about connection. It's about recognizing the other person. It's about giving him or meeting his unmet needs in recognition, in respect. In you give him wings to fly,
or her,
yeah.
You can flirt with both men and women.
Absolutely, yes. And if you really cultivate it, then I don't remember any bad reaction on it, because I compliment men. I mean men. Okay, I let's say I'm playful with men, but I compliment women, young or old, and I don't really remember any bad reaction on it. And by the way, what I want to say, there is very extremely thin line between good manners and flirt. If you are in social bubble where people are not nice, they don't do small talk, they don't dress up, they are not prepared.
You're talking about me now.
No, you are. In my eyes, you are very nice and cultivated. Then those people can...
Guys, remember these words, guys? Yeah, sorry, Simona.
No, I think you are very easy to access, and you are very mindful about...
Love where this is going.
About, I would say, about borders. I would even describe you as a shy guy. You are absolutely not overcrossing.
Okay. First person who says I'm shy. But so the line between good manners and flirt is very thin.
I think so. I give you an example. I moved to a new apartment here in Prague, and it's very small one, and I have a lot of stuff. And this place is unique because it was built in 1920, and it has two big niche. So you can really visit something beautiful, or you can kill the space. So I invited a very good friend of mine, Daniela, who is a designer, and she lives in Dubai. She is a high-mannered lady because she is really, her word is the high society. I mean, in the best meaning of the word. And then I had my cousin who has hearing problem. He has hearing aid. He's almost deaf. To help me, and he's very skilled and very nice and working hard and so on. And Daniela came, and she brought some cakes and some snacks, and she complimented my cousin, and she said, you are helping, that's very nice what you do for Simona, and I see this and I see that, and that's very cool and so on. And she spoke to him in a manner in his social bubble he was not used. And he misunderstood that she is actually not flirting, but that she is in love with him. And then I started to focus on this, and it really happens quite often. If you are super nice, not erotically at all. Not even, you don't even compliment the people. But if you have this so-called good manners, that you really listen, you give them the eye contact, you give them smile, you listen, you are kind to them, you are not laughing off or you are not correcting them, you know, you really help them because you see the good in them or the clever in them. If they never met this, they are completely confused. So you have to be also responsible, you know, and you have to be conscious about, first of all, culture. It's a cultural thing. And then you have to use your responsibility not to over-confuse that person. But you can lead him to adopt those good manners, and you can lead him to higher self-esteem and self-value, you know, then you will, sooner or later, you can demand it from the others to be nice to you and not accept not being.
But the line between then flirting and being sleazy or I mean, like because, and it's an interesting thing that, like I told you when I saw on LinkedIn that you were writing about this, I started thinking, oh wow, Jesus Christ, he's walking in a landmine zone, you know, like, because on one hand, then we have somehow a society that is trying to eliminate all traditional roles. We are inventing new sexes, and it's a very fragile and delicate subject.
It is.
And then we have a phenomenon like the Me Too, which was great for what it started, that misuse of power and abuse of people, but on the other hand, it also has a, let's say, at the end of the spectrum somehow, or the other end of the spectrum, you get the consequence that people start becoming afraid of being honest and open. And how am I supposed to flirt if my name can be put on the internet and I will lose my job for, I don't know, telling a guy that he's wearing a nice shirt, or that I can see that he's working out or something, you know? It's a very delicate.
It is, yes, it is very delicate. But I think we are simplifying it, you know, because I think this is like a rose. It has many rosettes, many layers, many leaves, and every leaf means something. So flirt doesn't mean sexy. Sexy must not be flirty. You know, beautiful is not the same as hot, and vice versa. And what I am focusing on is more the attention to the other one, to bring the playfulness, and really, you know, actually I teach quite traditional stuff like listen, you know, be prepared. Preparation is 90% of your success. Respect, you know, don't overdo. But if you do it right, you already are slightly flirtatious. And to be sleazy is a different category, and I hate sleazy, and I am quite, let's say, brutally honest, and I stop it immediately. So it takes courage to be vulnerable and to be misunderstood, you know, and it takes courage to stop it on time. And honestly, I never experienced to be sexually sexual harassment is not something I never met in my whole career, which
yeah, I mean, that says a lot. I mean, because you're having a career around an area that I think a lot of people would think that there would be a lot of sexual harassment coming out of it somehow.
I never experienced that the man misunderstood no. And I didn't have even I didn't have to say it. You can non-verbally, you know, or you can do it playfully. You can like playfully say I'm not interested, or this is just, you know, just in social interaction or something. Yeah, but you have a point of being offended for men. That's true. But if you are gentlemanish and if you take responsibility, and I cannot imagine that this would go too far. I mean,
but so the 21-year-old hitchhiking or 22-year-old hitchhiking Simona and the 51-year-old flirtologist Simona, are these very different people? I mean, are you with age? Do you feel that would you have been able to see this the same way as a 22-year-old as you do today?
No, but that's not the same because it's different time. It's different word, you know. You should understand this was unique 1-2 years, that it was really unique in entire Europe. I think people really have been nice, good. You know, I was super naive. Today I wouldn't survive, but then people were really like willing to help and really super friendly and really, you know, there was such a strong togetherness and joy.
Yeah, it was an interesting time. Yeah, joy of freedom everywhere.
Everywhere. Really, people. Can you imagine that you traveled a lot, and so you must remember that people were hugging and helping each other and complimenting, and it was just pure joy and friendship and respect.
That feeling is what you were saying in your coaching, in a way. It's the respect, it's helpfulness.
You can create it. You can create the clima. You can create the it's like company culture. You can create that culture, you know. You have company culture which is super friendly, you would say almost flirty, and then you have company culture which is unfriendly, hostile, square, narrow-minded, you know. It's about figures, it's not about people, and it attracts certain structure of personality, and other structure of personality it's pushing away. And you can see also by fluctuation, by burnout syndrome, you know, this will catch you later. So
yeah, I've seen it often here that people are actually there's a lot of politics amongst people in companies, and
unfortunately,
and no one wins in the end.
No one.
Everybody feels bad.
But I am, on the other hand, I am quite positive because I see good intentions. I really see interesting people in management. I used to be a little bit desperate, but now I really see the difference. I think, you know, because of the social media, you can have really quality TED Talks, you can listen to podcasts, you can make your own opinion. Now the millennials are getting stronger. The autocratism is almost not anymore, you know, so I'm quite positive, and people want good quality of life in company.
Yeah. People are evaluating other things in the company than just the money, and you know, it's more about culture and values and these kind of things. So probably in the end it will mean that there will be more focus on the softer skills in some way.
I am always giving one question to my clients, like, what would you truly regret 10 years from now? And you should really fulfill those 10 years or 5 years. Because then it's too late, you know. So you have to have priorities. You have to know exactly what you accept and what you absolutely no way accept. In what atmosphere you want to live, what kind of relationship, what kind of people. Do you want to be surrounded with inspirational people, or you want to just listen, shut up, and be in hostile mood all the time? You know, this is our responsibility. Nobody can do it for you.
No, that's true. You told me that you told me some example of where, I mean, and we're talking about flirting in a very, what do you say, open way. It's a very undefined concept. It's almost like courage, speak up, compliment. It's flirt is a collection of...
It's collection. It's a courage. Let's take courage, because courage from Latin, it comes from the Latin word cor, cœur in French, heart.
Mm-hmm.
So courage is a little bit something different than boldness, because courage is value-oriented. You have to have guts, you have to have courage to speak up. You know, it's value-oriented. Boldness is more tied to resilience, to dream big, stuff like this. And we very often use words without really giving them content. So if we talk about flirt, in my eyes, we talk about playfulness and about cherishing the other one. If we talk about seduction, we talk about procedure. When you turn the other one wanting you, not because you want him, because you offer him something, because it is so attractive, so appealing, that he comes free willingly. Of course, you can misuse it as manipulation, but like everything. But also, you can make something big out of it, and you can really harvest, you know, based on cultivating the good of it, you know.
And these, but I read somewhere the 3 basics of flirting: smile,
yes,
eye contact, and humor.
There is one. There is a real flirtologist called Jean Smith, I think. She's anthropologist with specialization on flirt, and she created acronym called HOT APE for flirt. So H is for humor. You know, she has a point. If you say something very funny, for example, somebody connected with me on LinkedIn, and I asked him to connect, and he replied to me, "Why? I think it's quite rude." And I didn't know how to make it funny. Not, you know, I just wanted some kind of interaction. I just wanted to know if this guy is like human and interesting enough to keep in touch, or I just leave it. So I replied, and I thought it's funny, but obviously it was not funny for him. And I replied, "My lawyer prohibited me to tell you more." You know, and he didn't respond. I bet if I would tell this to you, you start to laugh. So you are my target, and now we have the humorous connection.
Yeah.
And if somebody is if you find somebody super funny, it's such a strong connection that it's very difficult to say, isn't he flirting with me? Of course, it's essence of flirt in it, you know, but it's up to us how far we leave it. Then you have moment O is for open, like open gestures and so on. So your tips of your feet should go to your partner. If it goes, he's really interested. If it's slightly aside, then he is just like looking for escape. But it's the same. You need to know for negotiation, for business meeting. You see where you stay. You see if you have to slow down and really getting his real attention. That highly probably you don't understand his needs. You know, probably you just push your product and you don't really listen to what he needs. You know, then you have moment. I have to hot tea. Tea is what is tea?
Talk.
I have to look in my paper. Moment. I will say what I remember now. So hot ape. Ape is for attention, and attention is the essence of charisma. Boardroom presence. Listen and be presented. It's so difficult. We are in our minds. We are, you know, monkey mind. We are everywhere
all over
and
the
nowhere.
place, yeah.
All over, you know, and very often. Or we are focusing what I want to say, which is not the same as really listening, because listening means that I am off guard and I am entering the sacred area of my partner. This is real listening. I am entering his word and I try to understand the context. This is listening, but we don't do it. We are not raised to do it. So attention is the key. P is for proximity, which is a little bit cultural thing, where you can do a lot of mistakes, or where you can help. And then T is for touch. And people who are like touchers, they are rated as more charismatic. But you can do it completely wrong, or you can just encourage this person. So in social connection or business connection, you only can touch shoulders and the upper part of your back, which feels encouraging. I know if when I was young girl and some older colleague took my shoulders or touched my back in the upper part, I felt so encouraged. I felt so respected and protected. It was really good. So yeah.
Hot ape.
But she used it for real dating. But what is the T? I have to. I tell you
that was touch.
Yeah, hot. Yeah.
That's
For touch. Yeah, T
E?
is touch and E is eye contact. And of course, there is a difference. Eye contact, female, man. When we would have like business meeting, I would suggest you to sit on the corner, not really face to face, because men and women are different. Female, they like to stare at other people. They really keep long eye contact because they are interested. Because I read in your face if you are still interested, if you are still with me, if you didn't lose your attention, if is it what you expect from me, and so on. And I adapt
on the fly.
Based on your face expressions and so on. Men, they cannot do it. It's not natural. So if I really stare at you very in a concentrated way because I study you and I want your reply, you can misunderstand that I am just flirting or I'm just finding you very hot and I want you. So for this confusion, I would...
You place me on the corner.
On the corner. So, as you know, like men, they communicate shoulder to shoulder, and female like face to face. Sorry, but also like the heart is flowing, from heart to heart. And if two men stare at each other, the conflict will sooner or later arise. And so you have all those nuances, and because you are not aware, you can make a lot of damage. If you look at really high valued negotiators, they pay attention to every detail of this.
So and they're reading the other person.
Yes, and they are very conscious not to give you any sign of flirt and so on. But or they can just sending a little sympathy. And they can play with it further. But we all play, Jesus Christ. How can you not play it? Impossible.
How do women like this message from you? I mean, how do female customers take your message on board?
Relief. They feel relieved very often. I would say very often females in the top positions, they are losing their femininity a little bit because they cannot do the same as men. It's differently interpreted, So I give you example of one client of mine. She's a high top manager in international automotive business. In the top management, she's the only woman. She loves to ride motorbike and she is quite adventurous and so on. And she is quite rational. She is really this, she's not feeler, she's thinker.
Yeah.
But when she acts the same way like men, she is perceived like too hard. Cold, like...
We call it cold bitch.
Cold bitch, exactly. She's not. So we discussed that she should try to dress differently, to put more female features like hanging earrings, for example, having dresses instead of costume with pants and so on, wearing high heels. And people started to really act differently, and also there was huge increase of trust. That's interesting. Towards her, yeah. So and she is the same, and she is absolutely, she was afraid to be friendly and so on. But actually now when she is, people love it. It's like the queen mom. If you look at her biography, they describe her as highly coquettish. But her way of coquetry was that she loved people. She loved fun and alcohol. And that's why everybody loves her. And she was so cute and so authentic in it,
But isn't that because this is really interesting what you're saying about this woman customer of yours, and I'm extremely happy to hear this because in some way this is, I feel like we're always talking artificial intelligence, automation, and I feel like in some way we want and expect the business place or corporate life or whatever. It doesn't even have to be business. It could be football clubs or sports teams or I don't know, the church or whatever. It's somehow being sanitized of human interaction. That we're all supposed to be almost, I don't know, neutral or passive somehow.
Absolutely. And the problem goes deeper because if the female acts like a man because she thinks that she has to, and very often in Czech Republic still, girls really do everything at home. They have to fix everything. They take care of the household, kids. They have high positions in the company. If you have really to take care of everything, there is not much space to be female. And you can measure it. It's proved, there are data that those girls lose estrogen. They have lower production of estrogen. If the girl has lower level of estrogen and she acts like man, the men
around her,
the men around her or her own man, they decrease their testosterone because they don't need to be men. It's really, if we go now to real relationship between man and woman, then they really are in trouble because then she is not so attracted to him and vice versa. And then when she has lower estrogen, she cannot get wet. If she cannot get wet, there is no connection. It's not about lubricant. It's about if you are wet, you produce oxytocin, which is the hormone on love. This is, we talk very often, we just hit some superficial, out of context stuff, and we don't go really deep and wide.
Yeah, but isn't that because we're trying to, in some way, we feel that we are such an advanced species that we are better than our primitive urges are, and we are ignoring a lot of because what you're saying, these are hormones. This is not something that is, you don't learn this in books. You can learn about hormones, but I don't know how to word this. But
we don't take responsibility how our behavior influences, the hormones, and the hormones is telling me who I am.
Yeah, I saw in the news the other day they were saying that that there will be no sperm in men in 2050 something. I mean, I didn't read the whole thing, but no, and I'm like, shit. No one is worried about this. I'm a little bit worried about this. I mean, I'll be dead then, but that's fine. But it's a worrying sign, and I don't know. I feel like that a lot of these primitive things that we have in us, men and women, as animals, because in the end we're just animals, but we wear clothes and drive cars, but in the end we're still animals. That we are trying to suppress those. We're trying to push them out, and then we see, like what you're saying. You take this woman, you make her a little bit more feminine, if I'm right. And it works for her.
Yeah, and she can celebrate her femininity and still her high competence.
Exactly. I mean, it doesn't compromise that. Yeah, it doesn't compromise any of her power or success.
Absolutely not. No.
And have you done the same for a man? I mean, do you have...
Yes. I have some like shy men to make them more like speak up and to I have one young gentleman who also works in international company. He's strong introvert, and I would say like this typical nice guy, you know. And he want to have more empowerment and more credit between his male colleagues. So we started with presentation skills. So the way to it is not presentation skills techniques. First of all is who I am. What is my intention? I really strongly believe intention. You have to put intention in everything you do. So if your intention is to grab the ear and to call the interest from the other side, it already gives you the path. So you have to work on your courage, of course, your self-esteem. Then we worked on how to prime himself to be more energized, and then how to really get rapport with the other person, you know. So he will never be show beast like Tony Robbins, but he can adopt some of his priming tips and tricks, you know. He can hack it. And then his very strong quality, very strong interaction with the other ones is that he is really good listener. And that's enough, you know. And then he can really increase his credibility.
So yeah, but Simona, like you described with this guy, so you helped him support some, let's say, part of his behavior, and gave him
to be aware, you know, and to use already the talents he had.
Yeah, so you brought out the best talent that he had that helped him, and often you see these quotes or slogans, you know, like I don't know, class is not taught, it's born, or charisma is something you're born with. I mean, does everybody have something that you can kind of pull out and make into their strong side?
This belief that charisma is inborn, it's an old concept, and now we have a lot of data to prove that everybody can be charismatic. Actually, everybody is some moment in life super charismatic. It's the moment when we are in love, or, you know, we are lucky in our work. The problem is that we very often don't know why it came and why it disappeared. And we don't think about it, and we don't work it out. You also have charismatic environment. You can be born into highly charismatic family, like the Kennedys. Everybody pay attention to Kennedys, you know, even despite the very sad destiny which came to many members of that family, because it's not only that they are good looking, they have something, they act charismatic. So if you are surrounded with people with high charisma, you become charismatic yourself.
It's contagious.
It's contagious. So what I do is to make people aware and build it up, actually. And you know, it's very interesting. Why did I bet on charisma when I am in business? Because of the business. Because charismatic leaders and managers, they have more yes. Because people, they are willing to walk the extra mile because they like the boss. They feel secure. They feel that things have sense. They have the trust, you know. They just believe it will be okay because of the charisma of the leaders. There was even experiment when they measured some positive hormone. I'm not sure if it was serotonin or oxytocin, but there was increase of those positive hormones during during a stay with charismatic personality. And increase of the positive hormones is causing goodwill for collaboration. You know, because if you are on the serotonin level, you want to collaborate. If you are on adrenaline and cortisol and your stress, you want to fight. You know, and everybody, this is creating the hostile environment where people don't trust each other, and you have to double check your back and so on. So this all are telling us like, let's collaborate, because collaboration always is more, always, you know, it's proved by history. It's, by the way, more typical for female leaders.
Yeah,
and
but that's a whole different episode because I think you hit the nail on the head, because I think men, it's harder for us to cooperate than it is for female. There is just something in us that makes it more difficult. And very often if you put 6 men into one room, the outcome of that room is not necessarily a great outcome, because it's often an outcome that is, I don't know, reached on some sort of a hierarchy or some sort of a stupid system that we have, and it's just hardwired in us, you know, and it's hard. But
also, if I may say something, also what is interesting is that men are more emotional than women, not vice versa. Because if you look at the parliament in Italy or some southern country, it's the men who are fighting. If you have like the Scandinavian more female parliament, they just make a deal and they go home to their families. You know, that's typical. And so why not to learn the best of each other? And back to the charisma. So charisma is a scientific discipline nowadays. There are books, you know. Charisma is taught at universities and the best business schools around the world. I already had even clients who studied in prestige universities around the globe, and they confirmed that charisma was part of their
subjects.
Subjects in psychology, anthropology, or even in business sciences. So it's something quite tangible. We can measure it. We can measure it by hormones. We can calculate actually the simulation, what happened if. And so it makes big sense to work on it. And actually it's you cultivate yourself. And by being conscious and prepared, the byproduct is that you become charismatic. But as I said at the beginning, first is, of course, charisma without competence will not work. So of course, I don't doubt your competence as a professional, and you have to work on it, and constantly, because it never ends. Then you have to be kind, always kind. Kindness is... especially by older women, I think it's so important to be kind, not because otherwise you are a bitch, you know. But even for men, to be kind and then to be independent. And independence, that's a little bit rebellious already. That's a little bit funky, let's say. So if you put this together in your own way, which suits you, if you are not really copying somebody, but you go to the core of your essence, then you are charismatic.
But isn't that the whole thing? It's the allowing your inner things to come out.
That's it, you know, that's it. And the same is with flirting. The same is with seducing. Once you become it, you seduce situations. You seduce people. You seduce luck, you know, in your life. I absolutely believe in it.
I'm playing the lottery tonight. Okay. I'm going to buy a ticket. I feel that I've seduced the big win to me.
Try and then share with me.
But you said earlier now you were talking about for a woman, older women, it's important to be nice, to not to be seen as bitches. Isn't aging in some way very liberating when it comes to flirting and charisma and stuff like this? Because somehow, for me at least, it feels that my courage goes up with my age, you know, like or my fear of failure goes down, let's say. Is that something that you...
Absolutely. Yeah, I think with age, or if I will talk about me. I think I exchange naiveness to kindness because it would be a little bit rare if I am still naive the way I was when I was 20. I think age brings you certain serenity, confidence. You know, you don't have to prove. That's very relieving. Some things you don't have to prove anymore. But on the other hand, aging is a tricky subject because many women, you know, aging with grace, that it takes courage. If you Google something about aging with grace, then you get pictures of women who want to look like 30 and do the effort to look like 30. That's not the same as aging with grace and so on. So, but yes, I agree with you. Age is benefiting. And also, because I am actually first time in my life experiencing that I am the oldest in the room. And this entitles you for kindness, but also the flirt is perceived more kindly. Do you understand? You know,
you get away with more.
You get away with more because if I would do the same at 20, it would be a little bit over the edge. But now 50, I can afford it. It's actually, it's very
you get
positive.
more credibility somehow. Or, you know, you've earned it.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I mean, it just gets better because when we're 80, we can pee our pants and nobody cares, you know, like it's great.
Yes.
But it's, on the other hand, I mean, aging and flirting is I think it's harder for men than for women because I think if I would be, let's say, saying some of the things that I could get away with saying 15, 20 years ago when I was like, you know, around 30 or something, I have a feeling that nowadays, if I would say that to young people, I think that it might be misinterpreted as a man. But I don't know. I mean, do you think there's a difference between what, how to say, goodwill or credibility a man or a woman has with this?
I think you have a point. Yeah, well, okay. If I would answer the question to you as a person, first of all, you don't look your age. Secondly, your look is quite young, you kind of hipster and so on. So you are kind of ageless, you know. So
a classic.
So I don't think it would be perceived as a sleazy. On the other hand, it's true that you should cultivate your way. You know, you can flirt, but in more cultivated manner, and then you get it all. You know.
So if you were gonna give like 2-3 basic advices to, let's say, some person who is in management, struggles a little bit and doesn't feel that he or she is able to, let's say, blossom or, you know, get everything that they want. 2-3 tricks.
Yeah. I'm not good in this instant tips and tricks. But what I think, if he is not blossoming, he's not happy with his life. There is something missing. You have to make order in your priorities and what you want to achieve in life. Which is, by the way, that's the positive side of aging. You don't have so much time. You don't play games, you know, and you don't care a shit what other people think, you know. So
I know.
That's very liberating.
But what you're saying, it starts with looking on the inside. If someone, you have to kind of take the count on what's inside you, what desires you have. And
absolutely. You cannot blossom based on like make deep eye contact and smile at people. This would never ever work, you know.
But they say
shortly.
They say that smiling is contagious and it creates this chemicals that goes into our brain.
That's right. Because the moment we cannot have two opposite emotions at the same moment. So that's why when we are unhappy, we go to work, we put this like professional smile, and at that moment we really don't even remember the grief we have in our private life. But then you come home and then everything's
sucks.
So you can short time you can fix it. Long term you have to really work on yourself. And I think as you radiate something, if you are happy and contained and fulfilled, then you radiate it. And this radiance is charm or
and
charisma.
it draws to you the right energies.
Yes, exactly. But you can do it from outside to inside as well. I am convinced. So if everything sucks and you are really going through tough period, you just try to influence what you can influence, and you can influence how you look, how you dress, how you act, how you behave. You can absolutely influence what you target and where your intention goes and attention. You know, if my attention goes like everything sucks and everybody's idiot, then it becomes my reality. If I put my attention to the beauty of the world, you know, if I see that finally I have time for myself and I can pamper myself a little bit and I can be a better mom and I can maintain relationships with my clients in the way I never had time and energy, then it becomes my reality. And so I can enlight the charisma.
But it's tricky because in some way, like especially maybe with younger people, not people. Yeah, I think I'm not. I don't envy people who are, you know, I don't know, starting their life or starting education and career right now, because a lot of the self-confirmation is coming from external things instead of coming from the inside somehow.
But they will experience it sooner or later.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a really hard time until it comes.
Yeah, well, they need to do the path as we had to.
Yeah.
You know.
I was thinking. I think we're done.
Yeah.
How are you getting home tonight? Are you gonna hitch a ride or? No, I wanted to ask you, like, so you're working on I mean, this is what you do, and but I know you're working on. You want to write a book about this.
Yes.
Is that? Have you started that or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, of course. I'm collecting sources, inspiration, and I have few capitals, chapters.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. And what's your goal? When is the goal to get this out?
I don't have. I'm lousy in planning. Well, actually, this should be something like, you know, at the end of our days, we want to leave something behind.
I'm leaving
us.
A podcast behind.
Yes, you have your podcast, so it will be here forever. And as Michelangelo did his David or Pieta or whatever, I want to collect my, I would love to say wisdom, but let's say experiences made on work with people, you know, very honestly. So I'm not really copying known theories if they didn't work for me, which doesn't mean the theory doesn't work, but maybe I had wrong approach or I didn't completely comprehend what is it about. So I would love to share what worked for me. And my aim is to encourage people to enjoy the life. It's so short, you know. It's so short, so why to put so many restrictions? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but I guess also when you're working with these kind of softer skills, let's say, or more human skills, then you can't really have a method or a system because every person is different and the
it's
situations
overlapping.
are
It's, you know, it's floating, it's overlapping, and that's the beauty of it. That's why I do it. And I'm learning all the time. That's you know what I have to say. If something changed me during, like, since my 20 till now, is ability to observe and see things, you know. Yeah,
to take from the environment. That's interesting.
Like having the eyes of a child.
But it's interesting. It's your first job in that hotel, right?
Yeah.
That puts you on this track. Without that job, you wouldn't be here.
No. And then I met another guy. I have to tell you this. And so I met this older guy. I started to work with him, and I left to Vienna. And when I went from the first working day, a guy approached me on the street if he can take a picture of me. And I said, "Is it how you seduce girls?" And he said, "Yes, maybe." And so, "Can I treat you for beer?" And I said, "Yes." And then we started to date. We are friends till now, and he highly influenced me in my entire career. So,
it's a coincidence.
And he's his coach as well. So you would never ever think. And then I married to Belgium. He married somebody who was Spanish, and then we have very similar destiny.
So you're the blossoming flower of the end of communism. How poetic is this?
It is beautiful,
isn't it?
Yeah.
So, okay, if people want to know more about you, where you have LinkedIn?
I
Simona,
have LinkedIn, yes.
Simona Barbry. That's Barbry.
Ypsilon.
You have a homepage?
Yes, simonabarbry.com.
.com. And Instagram, Facebook, anything there?
Facebook, Instagram, I'm not really, not much. Yeah.
So Facebook, people can find you there under your name. And I will have links to all this in the episode.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else that you want to tell people about, where to connect to you or?
Not really about connecting, but before I came to you, I was watching this very inspiring TED Talk from the Indian lady. Can I say it on air? Yeah.
We are allowed to talk about Indian ladies on this podcast. Yes.
Yeah. So I was inspired by, what is her name? Seema Anand, Indian lady who gave speech about seduction. And for me, it's inspiring in the way that we can learn in all subjects of life based on what she's saying. And she's describing what actually seduction means, that it's a long procedure. So for the man, that there was like 64 chapters how to seduce a woman, starting by giving her gentle massage in her hair and gently pulling, then the other day kissing her eyes, then
so every 64 days a man could
to do something a little bit to really tease her, to bring her. That's the seduction, you give, so she absolutely wants you. She's melting. She is in hot desire. That I remember that the 5th day the man does nothing, but she is already like over.
She's on fire already. she's moving in.
Yeah. She is in fire, and so on. But then she has to do the work as well, and there is some tradition of layering perfumes. So she puts the base oil, and then every part of the body has its own fragrance. So on the hair they put something unpronounceable, which means the smell of fresh rain falling on hot soil. Then you have the neck is jasmine, hands are mint. Then heavy musk is for the navel, belly, and bottom. Then you have the rose petals on your waist, so the man has to really put his face very near to smell it, and then you dot sandalwood in your back, but you make something like S, or you make an ornament, so the man has to smell every little dot. And this is beautiful. This is seduction. And if we would be able to put so much effort, in other part of our life with such a dedication, playfulness, and attention and patience, the life would be beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, but this, I think what you described is it's exciting, but on the other hand, it's everyone is time. You know what I mean? No one, and that's what I feel like. We are somehow the business environment is like efficiency and time, and we've invented all those tools like emails and fax machines and all these systems that make everything easier and more automated and blah blah blah. And then you would think that we would have more time for the fun. No, we have actually less time than ever because we're so busy checking all those systems, and it's really really interesting. So I'm very happy that there is still someone out there like you, a hippie, that believes that we can make it better, and you know, the more people that think like this, the more fun it will be. Because it should be fun, you know. It's too short to be boring.
Absolutely.
That's good, guys. The show has a Facebook page, The Bunker. What's it called? The Bunker. How the hell did we end up here? And Instagram page, The Bunker Prague. Feel free to tell me about cool people that you know that are living in Prague or come to Prague regularly so I can talk to them. Thanks to the sponsors, the Oat Bar in Karlin in Prague and Alfred Jobs, alfred.tz. And yeah, Simona, it's been great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
And there are we were talking about maybe recording another episode about biodynamic psychology. It's
biodynamic body psychotherapy.
Yes. So we will talk about that later. Looking forward to that. Good luck finding a right home.
Thank you.
Okay.